Okay, let's start with a fun question. Have you ever thought of an airplane like a giant rubber balloon? You know, the kind you inflate in your living room? Imagine you have this big, round balloon. You pump it up and feel that pressure pushing against your hand. That's exactly what happens inside an airplane cabin. When the plane takes off, the engines suck air from outside into the fuselage, basically inflating our giant balloon. As the plane ascends to higher altitudes, the surrounding air gets thinner. This means there's less air pressure outside the plane. So, just like your inflated balloon, the inside of the plane is under more pressure than the outside. This extra pressure keeps everything nice and cozy on board, like a cozy bubble that protects you from those thin, high-altitude breezes. And here's the surprising part. This pressurization doesn't just make flying comfortable, it's also incredibly important for safety. The cabin needs to stay pressurized because if it didn't, the air inside would become dangerously thin at such altitudes. But don't worry, modern planes are super well designed to maintain that perfect pressure. It's like having a personal climate control system on your own private island. Now you know why the airplane is called the giant rubber balloon. And it's all about keeping us comfy and safe up in the clouds. Okay, so we've got our airplane as a giant balloon, and now imagine your smart friend who's in charge of keeping that balloon inflated just right. That's the pressurization system. Here's how it works. When you're on the ground, there's plenty of air pressure around you, basically like being at sea level. But as we climb higher into the sky, the air gets thinner and the pressure drops. It's kind of like being underwater in a swimming pool. The deeper you go, the more water or air pressure builds. So what does your smart friend do? Well, when the airplane starts to climb, that pressurization system slowly inflates our imaginary balloon by pumping more air into the cabin. This happens gradually, so there's no sudden jolt or change. It's like filling a balloon with air from a pump. You don't inflate it all at once, right? That would be too much pressure and could burst it. And here's the surprising part. Even though we're way up high in the sky, the cabin stays nice and cozy. The pressurization system keeps the air pressure similar to what you'd find at around 8,000 feet above sea level, about the same as standing on top of a tall hill. But wait, there's more. When the airplane starts to descend, the smart friend slowly lets some air out of our giant balloon, lowering the cabin pressure. Think about it like adjusting the volume on your radio. You don't suddenly turn it all the way up or down, right? You make small adjustments until you get just the right level. This slow process is why you might feel a little gassy after a long flight. The air is actually expanding as the pressure drops and then contracts slowly as the cabin repressurizes. Just remember, your body can handle these tiny changes without even noticing them most of the time. So, there you have it. Your smart friend, the pressurization system, is keeping all those inflatable seats nice and snug up in the clouds. So why do we need the cabin to be pressurized? Well, imagine you're hiking up a really tall mountain. The higher you go, the thinner the air gets around you. It's not just that there are fewer trees or rocks. It's actually the very air itself. At high altitudes, like in the stratosphere where planes fly, the air is incredibly thin. This means there's less oxygen per breath, making it much harder for our bodies to get enough of this essential element we need to live and breathe comfortably. Think of it like being underwater. Just like how water pressure increases as you go deeper, the opposite happens with air as you ascend. And not only is breathing tougher, but even your ears can feel the strain. Have you ever popped your ears when going up in a plane? That's because the air pressure outside decreases and the tiny spaces inside our ears need to adjust. If we didn't have pressurization, those ear pops would be constant, painful, and not pleasant at all. That's why the cabin needs to maintain an environment similar to sea level. The pressurization system ensures that the air pressure stays high enough for everyone on board, whether you're a business traveler or a first-time flyer, to breathe normally and feel comfortable. It's like having a giant balloon around the plane, keeping the inside nice and cozy. So, we know why we need that comfy cabin pressure, but how exactly does it work? Let's dive into the mechanics behind those big compressors and clever valves. Imagine you're in your room at home, and there's a fan pulling air from outside. That's kind of what happens on an airplane, just on a much larger scale. The plane has these giant air compressors, which are like super powerful fans, sucking in air from the outside. These compressors don't just pull any old air. They take in the thin air found at high altitudes where the plane usually flies. And here's the surprising part. Those compressors don't just throw that air randomly into the cabin. They use valves, which are like smart little doors, to precisely control how much air goes in and out. Think of it as having a giant fan pushing fresh air into your room, but with these valves ensuring that you're always breathing nice, comfortable air. These compressors work day and night, making sure the cabin stays at the right pressure level, no matter if the plane is climbing, descending, or even flying through turbulence. The valves are constantly adjusting to keep that perfect balance, like a thermostat keeping your room temperature just right. Now, why do we need all this? Well, it's because our bodies aren't built for those high-altitude pressures. The compressors and valves work tirelessly to ensure the air in the cabin is about the same as what you'd find at 8,000 feet above sea level. That might sound like a lot, but it's actually just enough so your body doesn't feel the pressure difference as much. All right, so we've covered how air compressors and valves work together to keep that cozy pressurized bubble around you up in the skies. Now, let's dive into why all of this is such a big deal for your safety. Imagine you're flying in an airplane up at 35,000 feet where the air pressure is super thin, like being on top of a really tall mountain. If that pressurization system fails and the cabin suddenly loses its pressure, it could be incredibly dangerous. Think about it this way. It's like if you were hiking and had to quickly get down from a very high altitude without proper gear. Your body wouldn't adjust well to the sudden change in air pressure. That's why airplanes are designed with multiple backup systems. The pressurization system isn't just one thing. It's a whole network of safety features working together. It's like having a car with not just one, but multiple brakes and airbags, each one ready to save your life if the first one fails. Incredibly rare, but in the very unlikely event that something goes wrong, there are emergency oxygen masks for everyone on board. The pilots have special training to handle such scenarios, and the plane is equipped with emergency decompression procedures. All these safety features are put in place because flying at high altitudes can be tough, and it's essential to keep you safe. So, when we talk about pressurization, remember, it's not just about making sure your ears pop nicely. It's vital for keeping the air around you breathable and healthy. That's why all those systems are so important and why flight safety is a top priority for every airline and pilot. So, when you hear cabin pressurization, think of it as a smart system keeping your flying experience comfy and safe. Next time you board a plane, remember the invisible work happening to make sure every breath feels like home. Thanks for watching. If you have more questions or want to learn more, hit that subscribe button and join our curious community. We're always here, ready to demystify aviation one question at a time. Stay curious, fly safely, and keep asking those awesome questions.